Yes, that solo hit was elusive in my career. There were certain films that I didn't do which did become super hits. In my case, I thought I wasn't ready at the time when I did do my first movie. At the time, yes, it was painful. It was a tough knock on the chin. Fool myself. You know, destructive criticism can really make a person cynical, which you have to actually actively safeguard yourself. Raise a red flag or wave a red flag and let your thoughts be known.
I really hoped I could have seen more of you, but I think we'll
Now
see
that's a good thing.
But I think that we'll see in the second season, right?
I hope so. Probably would have come back much earlier,
Yeah.
which is definitely something I wish I had. Losing a parent is
Never the easy.
one of life's truth. It's always difficult to come to terms with. Yes, the grief is always there.
Hi, this is Bhavna and you're watching India Today. They say you need to be slightly self-obsessed and slightly deluded to be an actor and a thriving actor in the industry. But meet someone like Fardeen Khan who is so self-aware that it can really surprise you. Here I am sitting with Fardeen only on India Today. A huge welcome. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing good. I'm doing well. Happy. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much.
This is the second time I'm hearing self-aware today. I'm most curious to know your reasoning why.
No, because I was watching all your older interviews, and very seldom do you see an actor who is so self-aware of his potential, just as an actor, as a beginner, to acknowledge that okay, maybe I wasn't that great in a particular film. I don't know of many actors who would do that, despite knowing perhaps that they were not their best in a particular film. I've seen you do that. How?
Because it's the truth.
But you.
I have nothing else to say. I mean, this craft is evolving. I mean, you look at some of the greatest actors. I mean, there's a certain maturity. There's a different skill level, which only they sharpen their skills. They hone in on their skills. They learn so much more. I mean, every part teaches you. Life teaches you. That's what we draw on. Sometimes, in my case, I thought I wasn't ready at the time when I did do my first movie, and it's quite clearly obvious to me when I see it. So I don't think I can claim otherwise. And I think, if you're passionate about what you do, and you have to be humble enough to be honest with yourself so you can grow and learn.
With you, the one more reason why I say that I feel that you're one of the most self-aware actor is also because I have never seen you blame or hold anyone else accountable for whatever you achieved or perhaps did not achieve in your career, which is very easy to do at a certain point. Like you could say that, oh, that film didn't work, perhaps I did not work with the right car. There are several reasons if one may want to point out and say why it did not go the way they thought it should. But I have seen you take accountability for every good or bad work that you have done. Do you agree or do you disagree?
No, I think that's the place to start. I mean, at least in my case, I cannot fool myself if I don't think I've done well, if I've been in some way responsible for a film not having done as well as it could have, or not having done well at all. I think it's a lesson learned. But having said that, if you can say to yourself that you've given it your best, then there are still many factors beyond your control. In my case, there were some films and the process which appealed to me a lot more than some other films. So I was more interested and invested in certain projects as compared to others, and that was my failing when I look back and reflect on my career. Sometimes there's something about the creative process, or you have certain expectations, you have certain hopes, and it does not turn out the way you imagined or hoped it would, and somewhere in between, your interest can waver.
Yeah.
And in a few cases, that's happened with me, and I just finished doing a certain job without being, and that is on me. That is my responsibility. And then I have to be accountable for that. Films that have really excited me, have interested me, I've given it my everything. But irrespective, that's whatever it is, you are hired to do a certain job, and you just have to see it that way. You have to give it your best, your all. And in some cases, I have failed at that. So lessons learned.
Yeah, see, now there's a reason why we say that you are very self-aware. I'm telling you, it's a quality, it's a rare quality in today's time, and please keep that intact. Not everyone can say that they are that honest. But has that also worked against you?
Sure, if it works against you. I mean, people, they will question your interest, your investment in what you're doing. How seriously they take you. All these factors are there. It's like it's like I was working with Akshay Kumar and
Khel.
in Khel Khel Mein, and he paid me a really nice compliment on set. He says, Fardeen, I see something very different in your eyes compared to what I saw. Because he's seen me before and after. I mean, back then and now. And he says there's a certain commitment, and there's a certain investment that I see, which is part of your aura now, which is so nice to see and so happy, and it's so nice to be working with you again, and of course working with him is also of course a pleasure, so that was really nice to hear, and maybe understand also, because of course I speak all of this because I've had time to reflect and think, but it is what it is. It is the truth, and I think you have to first, in any situation. I think that's what, at least the way we've been brought up, is first you look at yourself. That's a place to start. You first take responsibility for what you've done, and only after that can you look at other aspects that might have worked in your favor or might not have, and that's a basic value system, or a basic set of principles on which I conduct, my life in general. You take ownership of what you do, and you be responsible for your actions and
But
its consequences.
when you started off, and between the period when you were your most active self as an actor, you have done all kinds of genre, which is, again, not everyone can say that they did that within the limited span. A decade, you were most active during that 1 decade, right? But you possibly tried all kinds of genre. Whether it worked or not is a different question altogether, but you tried and you experimented. Did that come from a place where you were like, okay, I want to really try and see if I fit in this mold? Because you also made your debut at a point where there were so many other actors alongside who made their debuts, right? And there was obviously this competition that was going on, but I did not see you giving in to that competition, but you were rather interested in carving your own niche. Is it correct?
I mean, it's every actor eventually does that, because
Not very early on in their career.
but there's always only one of you. So if you think of it from that point of view, so having said that, every actor's effort is to try and carve out their own niche. I think it makes a real big difference is in the material you choose. My entire growing up was in a commercial framework, where it was, the focus was selling tickets. It's not like today where you have two other big revenue streams, which can make
you profit, as a production house,
which can earn a film, its returns. But back then, the main was box office, so it's about selling tickets. So everything was based on what had previously worked, or what they thought the audience would like, or it was all very, very audience centric. And of course, this is as much a commercial business as it is an art form. It's one of those few professions which try and combine the two. Yes, box office was important. Certain decisions of mine worked, you know, certain decisions of mine didn't work, but you know, I realized kind of pretty early on that it was important to like what I was doing on set, you know, and it was important to like the people that I was associated with. I mean, of course, you don't get that choice all the time, and that doesn't
Absolutely.
always happen, even though you hope it to or wish it would. But and sometimes things don't happen that way. But you know, you choose your gut, you know, to as far as the characters are concerned, as far as the stories are concerned. So I kind of used, that was my compass. So that's probably what, you know, it's like, I mean, you're telling me that I've done all these films from different
there's
genres.
horror, there's
I'm
comedy,
actually thinking about it myself.
there's
I don't
action, there's like political drama as well with Dave.
Yeah.
You know, so very different kind of genres completely.
Yeah, so I mean, I've had the opportunity to work with some, you know, truly wonderful people, producers, directors, actors, and you know, I just followed my intuition regards the stories, and you know, and sometimes when I didn't listen to that,
Other movies.
and then you did it purely for commercial reasons, or you know, this project ticked all the boxes, you know, you invariably didn't quite work out, and I myself was not good in that project. So I've always used as a guide my intuition based on what appeals to me, and listen, sometimes I've been wrong.
Yeah,
And
that's,
but invariably,
yeah.
I've been pretty good with it.
And it's only human to go wrong. I mean, we cannot get everything right all the time, and it's okay. But
I think we get things wrong
most of the time.
more often than not.
But that's just human nature, right? Like,
I think that's life.
yeah, true.
That's I mean, that is life, literally. That's how we've evolved to this
True.
point. I mean, that's evolution in a nutshell.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you had to describe life in one line, that is what it would be. But you know, during the time when you are perhaps not doing your best is also the time when you question yourself a lot, or your potential, because that happens with all of us, right? We just go into that zone where we are like, okay, there's something wrong that is definitely happening, but what? And then you go in a self-doubt mode. Did it ever happen to you?
You know, some of the greatest lessons learnt is when things don't go right. So it's vitally important to have an open mind, to think, to contemplate, you know, and like I said, like we discussed earlier, you know, you start with yourself, and then you take it from there. I mean, because there are a lot of factors that are beyond your control. You know, sometimes there are a lot of decisions that were collectively made that could have caused something not to work out the way it was hoped. Sometimes, you know, so every experience is a learning experience of sorts, whether it's successful or not. You know, you got to learn from your successes too.
But did it ever make Fardeen Khan doubt that, okay, am I in the wrong place?
No, this is something, no, never in the wrong place. How could I do better was always a question. The criticism can be harsh, but no, it's about, you take it in its stride. It is what it is. You know, we live in a different time now. Sometimes it can be harsh. Sometimes you wish things were a little different. But then again, it's part of it. You have to learn to grow thicker skin. And
you know, criticism can be taken in two ways. Either you can read something and feel so affected that it affects your self-doubt, or you could use that as a constructive feedback, saying that, okay, if this person feels that I am not delivering my best, it also means that I have that potential, is why perhaps that person is pointing that out, and work on that. How did you take it back then? Because I remember reading very harsh comments also sometimes, where people would just say that, you know, the acting would come across as something more wooden. Like, there were words like that used. It's not the most kind words to use for anyone.
like I said, you know, you start with your own self-analysis. That's where the journey begins, and you just take it from there. Sometimes some criticism can be deserved, but as long as it's constructive. You know, sometimes, you know, destructive criticism can really make a person cynical, and then, you know, which you have to actually actively safeguard yourself from becoming, you know, because, I mean, we're just in a profession where everyone's entitled to having an opinion, and you know, no matter what, the audience is always right.
True.
So I mean, at the end of the day, they're making something for them, so it's their verdict. They're the kings, you know, and especially if you're in the commercial zone, sometimes you can feel it wasn't deserved.
Like, if I may ask.
It was a long time ago. I mean, there were certain roles, certain movies, certain performances. You know, you feel you know you were judged a little harshly, or people didn't get it. But I mean, whether if they didn't get it, they didn't get it, or you know. So again, there could be several factors involved, you know, in what could have contributed to it. But like I said, you know, what was important is that you gave it your best, and you learned from that.
You know, Fardeen, another thing about your trajectory has been that you were a part of a lot of multi-starrer back then as well, and even now with Heeramandi, it was a multi-starrer cast. I mean, and you've been very comfortable doing those when most of them positioned themselves as the only hero in a film. You went for multi-starrers, which was, I want to know, one, where did that secure? Because you need to be very secure in the character that you're playing and in the project, and know what project you are in for, to be able to do that with that conviction, one. And you continue to do that even today, because, you know, for most people, they would look for a project which has the most meatiest part. But I think for you, you have always looked for a part which can give you as an actor to perform a lot more, irrespective of what the screen time is, and that remains intact back then and now.
You know, I don't know how much of it was conscious in terms of the films that I did all throughout were the best of what I had in front of me at the time, and I made a very honest choice in terms of, you know, what I thought would excite me, what I thought what I enjoyed doing. And you know, I've had the fortune of working with some wonderful filmmakers, and you know, you put your faith in them. So whether it's, you know, Om Jai Jagdish, which was Anupam Kher. If you talk about all the best, you know, if you talk about, I mean, all the best, Rohit Shetty again. If you talk about what do you call Hey Baby again, Sajid Khan, someone very passionate and written it really well. Sajid Nadawala, producer. You know, I mean, they you know, you're convinced that they're going to make a solid, you know, they're going to give it their best. I'm missing out no entry. Anis Bazmi, Boni Kapoor again, you know, and fabulous actors. So at the time, you know, I chose, you know, of course the stories, of course, and the filmmakers and the actors, because, you know, when you have, and the producer, of course, when you have that kind of a team in place, you know, you can only grow, because, you know, you learn from these people. You know, whether it's the seniors that I've worked with, or people who've done a lot better than me, have been more successful than me. You know, I mean, there's a lot to learn, you know, from working with varied filmmakers, as opposed to just, you know, keeping a solo hero project a priority. So, you know, these are takeaways. Yes, of course, you know, if you get a solo project where everything aligns, you like the script, the filmmaker is great, the star cast is fantastic.
Why not?
Of course. Who wouldn't want that?
Yeah, true.
You know, yes, that solo hit was elusive in my career. There were certain films that I didn't do which did become super hits, you know, which were solo heroes, which I had said no to. So that's, but that's okay. That's part of, again, your learning curve.
Being a part of a script where you have secure actors around you, because you've also been part of films where you were perhaps not surrounded by the most secure people in the industry as well. Did that experience change the way you then looked at other scripts? Because that is also very important.
You have to have faith in the person making the movie. This is a director's medium. At the end of the day, it's the producer and the director, you know, who's going to be making decisions, and your hope and wish is they'll make decisions in the best interest of the film and not in the best interest of any one particular actor or character. So that's your hope.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate, you know. I've worked with, you know, the films I named were all solid makers. You know, directors who had a vision, who were open to hearing suggestions from actors, and some actors made some valid suggestions and valid changes, and you got to have an open mind and accept that. And you know, and sometimes you work off each other. Sometimes you can suggest something, not just for yourself, but for the betterment of the film. Sometimes it's valid, sometimes it's not. But yes, you know, as long as there's clarity, and then you have to you have to have faith, you know,
Eventually, that is what it is. Yeah.
to an extent. And of course, if it's so glaringly obvious that something is not turning out the way it should
Yeah.
be, or something wrong is being done, then of course, you know, you can what do you call, raise a red flag or wave a red flag, and let your thoughts be known.
With Heeramandi though, like you said, always have clarity, always ask the right questions which you want to ask. So when Bhansali sir or the casting team from Heeramandi approached you, what was the first question that you asked?
I didn't really have any questions as
Really?
such. I was so happy to firstly receive the call from Shruti Mahajan, who was the casting director. She asked me if I would go over and meet Mr. Bhansali. Of course, I would go over and meet Mr. Bhansali. I was only too excited to go over and meet him. He told me very clearly. He says it's a small role.
Yeah.
You know, he says about 8 to 10 scenes, and it's exactly how it was. And he says, you know, he's one of the good Nawabs, and he's the only good Nawab in the series. Well, even Taha is a good Nawab in
No,
in
but
the
I think
series.
you
But
were the
amongst the older
yeah.
lot of the Nawabs, I was the only good one
Yeah.
apparently. So no, he was, and I was only too excited. You know, once it got worked out and I got confirmed for the part. And then, of course, I got bloody nervous as hell. You know, I got very nervous. So, yeah, I mean, it was a huge
Yeah.
project, and the way it was going to be presented by Netflix and Mr. Bhansali's vision and his team, and you know, just doing something you've never done before.
Yeah.
It was daunting, but it was very inspiring, and you know, when I look back, I'm just very happy as to how things turned out. You know,
We are also very glad. But when you were told about Heeramandi, did you have any questions about your character per se? Like, you know, because the look is different, the world is different. Perhaps you were returning after a long time, so you were not equipped with that world per se, right? Like, were there questions or nervousness for sure because you're working with Mr. Bhansali, but just about your character, were there curiosity and nervousness around?
Yes, yes, but you know, you just surrender to his process. So you know, he has a certain process, and he likes to see what people bring.
Correct.
You know, without knowing too much. I mean, that is part of Mr. Bhansali's process, and you know, he likes to, you know, really work with his actors in bringing out different dynamics and contributing their own. So I just surrendered to it. Of course, the first couple of days you had all these questions, and then you know, your confidence
It slowly builds on,
grows, and you've seen the finished product.
Absolutely. I really hoped I could have seen more of you, but I think we'll see
That's
that
a good thing.
But I think that we'll see in the second season, right?
I hope so. I haven't got the call as yet. I hope so. I hope so. But I mean, I'm so happy that season 2 has been announced.
You know, what has been that one compliment that has stayed with you? Because in today's time, earlier back then, I mean, the only compliments that you would perhaps get is from the industry people or from the audience when you meet them in person. Today, social media gives you a wider scope to know everyone's opinion, good or bad. What has that one comment or compliment been that has really stayed with you? Because I can tell you, as a matter of fact, there have been so much good written about you, and people missed you on screen.
Well, you know, exactly what you just said, you know, the same words. We've missed seeing you on screen, and it's such a pleasure having you back. So that's, I mean, I don't need to hear anything else. You know, that just makes my day, and you know, just like I said. So yes.
But I mean, you were busy with father duties as well, and there was so much more.
I could have. Life is always about finding a balance.
Yeah. So you do agree you could have. See, this is where is why you should have read and
I should have been more active on social
media.
media.
You should have been. What were you doing, Fardeen?
I don't know.
No, but you know, just taking you back to that time, because I know that when you first decided to take that break, it was obviously a little intentional also, because you were not in the right phase of your life after having lost your father.
I needed my own time.
Yeah, but of course, because of other personal commitments, then it just went on. The break got longer than it was supposed to be.
Much longer.
During that time, what helped you keep yourself together? Because I know that those are testing times, when things are not, and especially emotionally, when you're going through a turmoil. Losing a father is never the most easy thing to sort of come to terms with.
Losing a parent is
Never the easy.
one of life's truth. It's always difficult to come to terms with. Yes, the grief is always there, but there comes a point where you learn to appreciate the good times and the happy moments, and then you kind of stepping into their role. Like you said, you see the responsibilities that you have to take on now, so that in itself makes you rise to the occasion. And yes, in time you appreciate the wisdom that they've tried to instill in you. You wish you had maybe listened to them earlier.
True.
So
it's only in hindsight that you realize.
It's part of. Listen, there's a certain grieving process which is natural and common that we all share. I went through that also, and I was fortunate to have
right people around
close people, the right people around me. Sometimes just hit the brakes and absorb it all, and something happens within you.
Absolutely.
You come out and something new comes out. So.
There's a reason why we see a more evolved Fardeen Khan in Heeramandi, and hopefully in the other projects that are coming this year as well. But during that break, also a few pictures of you went viral, where of course you were not in the most best of your health.
Yes.
There was a health crisis that you were suffering from, and I don't think it was taken very kindly in the internet world, of course. I'm sure you must have come across words which were extremely hurtful at that point, because people can be very nasty while commenting as well.
I realized that was my introduction to social media.
Horribly so, but
yeah, I can laugh and smile about it now, but at the time, yes, it was painful. It was a tough knock on the chin. You got to take it in its stride. We're in a space where people are entitled to their opinions, but there are also some trends that are disturbing. Social media is also a positive voice, a positive factor for change. But at the same time, there are also some dark sides of it, and the fact that people can find entertainment based on somebody else's predicament is something that is tragic when you see it happen. But again, it reveals a lot about our nature. It makes you want to be better. It makes us think to learn to use this power that we've been given. Everyone has a voice today, more responsibly. It gives you pause to think that just as your feelings do, other people's feelings also are real and they do matter. And we're still in its infancy regarding social media. We're 15, 17 years into social media. This is something very new.
Yeah.
One voice can have an impact all around the world and be heard instantly. It's a superpower of sorts, that everyone has today. So of course, the hope is to use it responsibly, to use it conscientiously.
But I feel that after you braced all of that was when you were like, okay, fine, if I can brace all of these comments and the social media world, I think now I'm ready to come back
like they say,
into the spotlight.
What doesn't kill you only makes you stronger.
Absolutely. And here you are, stronger than ever. And I think we are looking forward to seeing you more on screen.
Very excited to see how people react and how it all turns out, and how people in the industry, whether it's writers or directors, and how they react to my work.
And I'm sure they will react positively because so far so good, right? Like so far so good. So that's what
So
it
far,
is.
so good,
One of
yeah.
your films is being, there's a sequel coming in, you know, right? No Entry 2 is coming in.
Yes,
You're
yes.
not there, but do you want to wish them luck? Because that film was, what a film. Like I still go back to it.
It's a cult film of its genre. I have the most amazing memories shooting it. You know, the process of you know, trying to create something funny. It was brilliantly written by Anis and directed by him, and you know, my dear friend Boni, you know, who I've done Khushi with also, and who's someone you know, I look up to and take advice from, and you know, I wish them all the luck, and you know, just send them all my love for it to turn out, you know, for it to be a big success. You know, I mean, I don't know how much of, because I heard the script for the sequel. I don't know if it's the same or if it's new, but the one that I had heard was very,
Because it was
very
earlier
funny.
supposed to be you all returning, right? No, or no?
Sorry?
Was it earlier supposed to be, I mean, previously a few years back when this was being planned, it was supposed to be the same cast coming back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That didn't happen.
That,
But
yes.
koi baat nahi, we'll watch the new sequel now. Lastly now, because you always wanted to be a director at one point. I mean, the idea was that,
yes.
right? It's been almost 2 decades, Fardeen, but we haven't heard a director.
I was away for 14 years.
we are not taking that into account. Okay, then a decade and now continuation,
Yeah, no,
the work in progress. But are you still
like everything? Like everything, it'll happen. It'll happen when it's supposed
but
to
the
happen.
Keeda is still there. Like you still want to
Yes.
be a director as well.
Keeda is.
है ना? और कुर्बानी
कीड़ा-
के क्या सोच
Keeda
रहे
is
थे
very
आप?
much there. जिंदा है कीड़ा.
You wanted to also remake Kurbani at a certain point.
It's. I've discussed it with a couple of people. I wouldn't want to say anything about it right now.
But it is still
Yes.
in the picture. Like it will happen. Maybe a few years later, but it will.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm looking forward to seeing Fardeen Khan as a director as well in the coming years. But तब तक इनको actor की तौर पे ही let's just enjoy him in the next 2 films that are coming this year. Thank you so much for your time, Fardeen.
Thank you.
And please don't go away now. I think there's an
I'm
audience.
very much here. I'm not going away anywhere.
People are loving you, so let's just keep that. It keeps going. Yeah.
Thank
let's
you
just
so
hope
much.
that.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.